I want to say that like my experience with online learning has been kind of jarring, but overall, I don't think it's been like good or bad. It's just been like I think as everyone else has said for the most part, like pretty average. But it for us, like in America, or at least for me at the University of Pennsylvania, we got the announcement that we were going online while we were like on spring break, and then they extended our spring break. So it was kind of like jarring for us to just be like away from home or away from Penn, and then to realize a lot of us couldn't even like go back there, and then like we kind of just had to adjust to like another way of learning and stuff like that. But I feel like overall, after adjusting and stuff, it was kind of nice to have that like independence with like the access to lectures and readings and stuff because a lot of stuff obviously it was online, so you could just access it on your own time. So even if you like weren't like a morning person, as I know like other people have said, you can like access it later and stuff as long as you like turned in things on time. It was like totally fine for you to do that. And for me, it was a lot easier to like sort of move my time around because I also was doing one of my like research jobs, and it was just like um, I was able to do it remotely as well, so it was easy to like do my job and then also like do my work as well. But it was also kind of hard in the sense that I spent so much time like in front of my laptop, as like other people have mentioned. Now I've been trying to like manage like how much time I spend, even though almost like everything I do it like requires me to be on the laptop, so it's kind of hard to manage it in the first place because you can't really like not be on it. But I want to go through like some benefits and challenges I found from like studying online, at least at Penn. And I would say, like I have mentioned, there's kind of like this ease of access, at least for like a lot of the lectures and stuff. They were pre-recorded on a special software and they were like put up for us. So it was easier to just to watch the lecture on your own time. But there was also like some study materials. Like one of my classes, we used to do like review sessions and stuff like during the class of like quizzes and stuff, but like ones that you would like respond to like on your laptop. But the way it was like kind of changed for us, we use Canvas like for most classes at Penn, and on Canvas, my professor just put like a review quiz that like wasn't graded. It was only graded for completion, and then you just had to like fill it out, and you got all the answers, so you could use that to study for like the final exam. And I would say like another benefit was also that some of my final exams just turned into papers and stuff, so it wasn't like as difficult to like, oh, I have to like study for an exam. I think I only had like one exam that like actually stayed as an exam, but even that exam, even though it was timed, you could take it like any time during that day. So it was more like accommodating. And it was also just I would say like another benefit for from studying online, as like others have mentioned, is that it is cheaper to like live at home, so you're not like paying for like living on campus and things like that. And then I want to say for like challenges, there is definitely like the challenge while being at home is cheaper. It's hard to focus. I feel like a lot of people have mentioned like how hard it is to like be motivated while like being at home, and like there's like all these distractions. And I feel like there was also just some technical difficulties, or like if the professor couldn't like get into the meeting on time, sometimes like we would lose a lot of time because the professor was like trying to join the meeting and things like that. And then there was a lot of like group activities, or even in the class I was talking about before of like the review on Canvas. We would also do like in class activities that we couldn't really do with like pre-recorded lectures and stuff. So like those things got canceled. Or I was in another class about comics, and I think we were supposed to like make a little comic or something like that, but we just couldn't do it when we like moved to online and stuff. And I feel like there are some challenges for the professors as well, as I kind of heard from the other panel, where it's just like hard to prepare online content. And I know like one of my professors, he's a dad with like two children, so like he had to record like all his lectures at night and stuff. So because sometimes like it's really hard to like record while taking care of kids, and like and one of his lectures is like one of his kids like comes into the lecture, and it's kind of funny because then he has to then he ended up recording it at night anyway, and he was like, this is why I do it like this. But yeah, I would say for like as far as access to support and like different resources, is that there was a lot of access like to the lectures, and the library had access to like its like online catalog and stuff, but we couldn't go in person to like get a book or anything like that, so that was kind of like a different experience. Even though for me personally, at least the classes I had, I didn't have to like get that many books, but I know there were like other people who were like using the library for books, like because I know other people have mentioned like economic constraints and stuff, and a lot of people like use the library just to like check out a book, and it's like hard to check out a book when you're like not even there in the first place. But like also for some of my classes, like my comics class, a lot of the readings turned to were put online for us, so like it was easier for us to just read that way than trying to figure out how we were going to get access to them. And there are also just like virtual support systems from like counseling, or also for like my college dorm, there's like graduate students that were like available to talk to us if we just need to talk about things. And sometimes, and also there was about access when you, I think another professor talked about this earlier, but like it was like kind of hard to ask questions sometimes because you could email them and like you could like use some question threads, but it's like hard to expect the professor to get back to you immediately. But also in that sense, there was also some like Q&As that my professors did like online and like virtual meetups and stuff. So it there were times where we could ask questions like face to face, so it wasn't like completely like as bad. And as others have mentioned, they also like allowed us to like put mentions through like the chat and stuff. So it was also easier to do it that way. And I want to say that studying online, there was a lot of things that my professors did well, like making all the resources available and like accommodating for us, like allowing us to do like final exams like at any time during the day, even though it was still timed and stuff. And they just like a changed a lot of like the courses, and that's why during spring break when they announced it, they like gave us like another week for allowing for the professors to like change how they were going to teach and stuff, and like changing what assignments we had. And then I just want to say that if I was to improve it, like I would expect sometimes like more meetings to be had, because sometimes some classes were just like the lectures, and it was like hard to expect. It's like hard to learn just from like the lecture itself. Like sometimes people could have benefited from like having more like face to face meetings. And also a lot of my classes did have those face to face meetings, but like some of them didn't have like activities to do during the meetings, and sometimes it was like the professor is like going over the material, which is nice and stuff, but like it's hard to know if you've really like learned the material if you can't really like apply it in class. You're kind of just like hearing it over and over again. And sometimes I would say some assignments didn't get lengthened, like the like time to do it, so like maybe like accommodating that in the sense like providing extensions for different assignments. And I also want to touch on like the social aspect that I know people have alluded to, and it's like it is very hard to keep in touch with a lot of people because everything's online now. You can't like see people face to face, and a lot of our clubs got canceled or like they just stopped meeting, like even virtually. So like for me, I've kind of been keeping in touch with my friends through like texting, or like some of my friends we meet up like every week on a Friday or so, like over Zoom and stuff. So that's been nice. And for like my dorm especially, there was different events that they would put on where we could meet up virtually. And I know it was hard because sometimes, or most of the time, there wasn't that much engagement with the events. But it was nice to know that the events were going on in the first place, because I know from what the professors and like the other people in my dorm were saying, that some people would reach out to them and said that it was just nice to know that like something was still going on. I think it gave people like a sense of structure, even though like there was so much like disorganization going on with like the change to like online classes and stuff. And I also just want to touch on briefly with the economic concerns. As like other people have mentioned, there's like also just different time zones. It's not necessarily like economic, but like um, we had to also adjust for some people who didn't have internet. I know Penn specifically tried to like keep some people on campus if they could. I don't know if all the people who like didn't have access to internet were able to access it or like stay on campus, but I know they like tried to address things like that. And as far as like jobs and like getting loans or like different like financial advice, um, Penn has like these different offices that were open virtually, like their like office for career services and their like financial aid office. And they were available for meetings and things like that. So I think like overall, Penn has tried its best at least to allow students to have virtual meetings and things like that. And they've just tried to accommodate students for like, like living in different time zones or just like having different needs, like from the shift from in person to online classes.